Everyone has a podcast. There are no more private conversations. Every ex-band manager, every coach that formerly led a team to a championship, every player that played for 2 games for a championship team but did not have a starring role has something to say about the star players on that team and what they liked and what they were like in private. What is the price of information in 2025? Content, content, content. Are you content or are you content? Did you know that's what Slash from Guns N' Roses said to me one time, that he did not think he'd be having to remember again 30 years later? Do you remember? He said something that now everyone knows that he said to you in private. Now it's everybody's business. Before you update any operating system, always wait a few weeks, a few months before updating that operating system, especially the ones that are supposed to be replacing the ones that are already working well. If you go to the details sections to find out what this update includes, they will always say things like improved security and bug fixes for something that you already have naturally taken care of. What old car models are no longer around? Well, if you had that question, here are 10. Packard, the Studebaker, the DeLorean Motor Company, Daewoo Motors, Saab with 2 A's, Mercury, Saturn, Plymouth, Oldsmobile, and the Pontiac. All cars that had a promising start, but then the market decided they were no longer needed. The low angle when shooting cinema is a very powerful angle, meaning you place the camera in a low position and you're shooting diagonally, directly upwards. And this is particularly true when it comes to shooting guys. It makes them look more powerful, as in football players, as in wrestlers, as in movies, even if an actor might be 5'8" like Tom Cruise, or even shorter, a musician like Eddie Vedder, it might make them look even grander than they actually are. The low position. You can see it evident in shows like The Sopranos, where everything is just cropped diagonally up from a low angle, and it just makes everything stand out, the actor, that much bigger. A lot of those actors are just not very tall, probably walnuts, but the way that David Chase saw to shoot them, or even Martin Scorsese in a lot of his films that take place in New York, he gets that angle so correctly that it makes everything just look perfect. For women, especially when they're being shot, they prefer an angle from the top down, looking down at them from a high angle at a diagonal, and it's just a more flattering look. They even teach when you're shooting women that are older, it's a more flattering look from the top than from the bottom up. But depending on what you want to shoot, might be arbitrary to you, but just know there's certain rules in place to make things look a certain way. If you watch basketball in the 90s and even the early 2000s, players like Rip Hamilton and Reggie Miller kept your eyes moving because they were constantly moving. They were players that were about constant movement, without the ball. They didn't wait for the ball to come to them before they actually started moving. And they made for a better game for the viewer because they got their cardio in every single game. They created shots, they created angles, they fought off screens, and they made it hard for the defense to figure out what they were going to do next. They were constantly trying to get open. Try to watch some of those early games with Reggie Miller trying to fight off Michael Jordan, as well as Rip Hamilton trying to get open against players like Kobe Bryant. And speaking of the early 2000 Detroit Pistons, they had a player who many of you already know. His name was Mr. Big Shot. Chauncey Billups was famous for hitting big shots, but not only that, he is the only player to have a winning record against Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, as well as LeBron James. Winning record. When it comes to cable news, those of you who are still watching mainstream media, MSM, for your perfectly programmed and catered lies to you, here are your ratings. Here are the top rated cable news stations. Number one, first place for a few years now, Fox News, followed by CNN, who saw a 45% drop in their viewership these last few months, and MSNBC. So these are your top stations: Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, or if you don't want to call them news, there are other not so flattering names for them, but they ring true as far as being stations that sell medicine, stations that sell insurance, stations that sell fear and inaccurate information. Let's not give them all the credit. Most rap music marketed to kids sell clothing, medicine, and the image of invincibility through weapons. Yes, the image of invincibility, of a lifestyle that they no longer lead, except if you're from Chicago, that you are invincible because you possess a cache of many weapons stockpiled somewhere in your state that does not allow weapons. Funny how that works. No blocking of these forms of media at all on major forums like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Most likely, whoever you voted for, whoever you will vote for, is not exactly getting the job done how you thought they were going to get the job done. Meaning, whoever you voted for, whether you voted left or right, you are not happy. Which then comes into the spotlight, the question, when are you going to vote for yourself? And it's mostly because you should not vote on promises being made by people who are trying to get better in their own lives, but what are you doing in your own life to get better for you? And more importantly, are you voting for what the person is doing or has done, or because you are happy with what they say and how they make you feel inside? So perhaps a method of going through life is not watching what people say, listen to what people say, but actually seeing what they do when it comes to your personal life. Most people giving advice to you with a podcast or any kind of media are giving you advice from a point of view of a person who needs advice themselves. So with that, please take your grain of salt that is required to listen to all podcasts on all forms of media, so you can take the good and learn from what not exactly makes sense to you. You can always take something from it. A lot of it is information that's being recycled, but don't take it as the only form of truth that is available, and learn how to research so other people won't have to give you their information from their own point of view. There's always a day in summer, amidst all of the heat, that you can just feel that autumn has arrived. And albeit early, doesn't matter how early it is, and it usually happens early in the morning. There's usually this chill, and later in the day it might go up to 90 degrees, 100 degrees, but you already know that the season has changed, and now there is another weather pattern getting set to come in, and the leaves are readying themselves to make their exit, especially even if it doesn't look that way yet. They're going to come a change of season, autumn, fall, renewal. Sugar Ray Robinson, I don't care what anybody says, would have beat Floyd Mayweather a few times by now. Floyd Mayweather has a record of 50-0. Sugar Ray Robinson had a record of 129-1. And the one loss that he beat that boxer 5 times in different rematches that they had throughout the course of his career. Your coworker asks, "What podcasts are you listening to?" Do you tell them? Do you really want to open that can of worms? Are you going to be put on the list? Think of everyone you know right now in your life, or just anyone that you know, and now think of those people expired, no longer existing. Yeah, it's in those moments that your love will grow exponentially for everyone. One of these days, it was just a prank. There's a camera over there. It's not going to be enough to get out of a sticky situation. It's just not today. Today's not the day. How many brain rot words do you know in 2025? Brain rot. Ask your teenage kids. Ask the children. Brain rot words. Yeah. Well, I got a good woman. What's the matter with me? What makes me want to love every woman I see? I was trifling when I met her. Now I'm trifling again. And every woman I see, she says, look like a place I came in. Place I came in. Anybody know? Well, song by Waylon Jennings in 1975. Same person who wrote the theme songs to Dukes of Hazzard. Although they look like vegetables and are often classified as vegetables, here are 5 fruit that are often classified as vegetables. Tomatoes, cucumbers, zucchini, bell peppers, and eggplant. Fruit. Just a friendly reminder, if you have to go on a show titled Pop the Balloon or Find the Love, you are not looking for love. You're looking for exposure, and you are looking to be noticed on TV or on the internet. Go viral. Start your own podcast. If you are going online to talk about a narcissist ex while you're in your car, while you're heavily made up, and you are turning on a camera to do this, and the person who you're talking about is not there, then perhaps you yourself are not the empathetic one. If you go online, you have this burst of emotion about to come out, but the first thing that you decide to do is to turn on the camera, sit in your car, and have a one-sided conversation with the world about someone who knows that you went out with them, and you want to expose them and make yourself look like the victim and them look like the narcissist. Well, you might not be as empathetic as you think. Because I could not stop for death, he kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but to ourselves and immortality. We slowly drove, we knew no haste, and I had put away my labor and my leisure too, for his civility. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of gazing grain, we passed the setting sun. Or rather, he passed us, the dews drew quivering and chill, for only gossamet my gown, my tippeth only tulle. We paused before a house that seemed a swelling of the ground. The roof was scarcely visible, the cornice in the ground. Since then, to centuries, and yet feels shorter than the day, I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. Emily Dickinson. Because I could not stop for death.